Hanyadik?
7. fejezet, 11.
Oké, nektek még mindig van a heti egy angol pecke.
Illetve hát úgy van, hogy állandó Csaitanya, csak fordítunk nekik, tehát állandó Csaitanya Prabhu tartja szombaton, az angolul beszél, de van fordítás.
Oké, akkor most beszélünk angolul fordítás nélkül. Tatāsuranna vishadāsurena Rūpena tesham balaviryamirayam Udīpayam devaganam ca Vishnu Daivena nagendram abodharupa Tatāsuran avishadasurena Rūpena tesham balaviryamirayam Udīpayam devaganam ca Vishnu Daivena nagendram abodharupa
Tatāsurana vishadasurena Rūpena tesham balaviryamirayam Udīpayam devaganam ca Vishnu Daivena nagendram abodharupa
Tatāsurana vishadasurena Rūpena tesham balaviryamirayam Udīpayam devaganam ca Vishnu Daivena nagendram abodharupa
Tatāsurana vishadasurena Rūpena tesham balaviryamirayam Udīpayam devaganam ca Vishnu Daivena nagendram abodharupa
Thereafter, Lord Vishnu entered the demons as the quality of passion, the demigods as the quality of goodness, and Vasuki as the quality of ignorance, to encourage them to increase the various types of strength and energy. Thereafter, Lord Vishnu entered the demons as the quality of passion,
as the quality of passion.
The demigods is the quality of goodness.
The demigods is the quality of goodness.
And Vasuki is the quality of ignorance.
And Vasuki is the quality of ignorance.
To encourage them and increase the various types of strength and energy.
And increase their various types of strength and energy.
Everyone in this material world is under the different modes of material nature. There were three different parties in the churning of the Mandara mountain: the demigods who were in the mode of goodness, the demons who were in the mode of passion, and the snake Vasuki who was in the mode of ignorance. Since they were all becoming tired, Vasuki, so much so that he was almost going to die, Lord Vishnu, to encourage them to continue the work of churning the ocean, entered into them according to their respective modes of nature: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Jai Shri Shri Prabhupada Shri Bhakti-vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Fogadnak a bakták.
Nem. Hát ő pont megvetné, az angolok ülnek ott, azt hitték, hogy... Igen. A farmon is vannak gurumálások. A farmon is vannak, tudod, az egyhetes szolgálati időiket töltik el. Mert gurumálások, nem tudom.
Oké, hát a világikben sokkal több bakta volt, mint Mataji.
Kongregáció is volt, mert maga a kongregáció szerint.
Anyway, here, most valaki fordít, abból magyarra.
Csak a gyerekeknek fordítom.
Jó.
3,5
Pedig nagy gyerekeket látok.
Itt valami. Aki angolul tudja.
And the next verse says, manifesting himself with thousands of hands, the Lord then appeared on the summit of Mandara mountain like another great mountain, and held Mandara mountain with one hand. In the upper planetary systems, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva, along with Indra, king of heaven, and other demigods, offered prayers to the Lord and showered flowers upon him. Purport: to balance Mandara mountain while it was being pulled from both sides, the Lord himself appeared on its summit like another great mountain. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, and King Indra then expanding themselves and showered flowers on the Lord. Oh, because they were also pulling. That's why they expanded themselves. There is a philosophical argument that argues that, for instance, here, if goodness and passion and ignorance come from the Lord, then that means he's also under the influence of that goodness and passion and ignorance. And because they manifest from him. But of course, we know that even though those modes of nature come from Kṛṣna, still he's above them. So, tasya kartarmatimam vidhi akartarmatimam. So in different places, Kṛṣna says the same thing, that although these modes manifest from me, but still I'm above them. And it's not a rational or a good argument to present, because even though someone may be the cause of something, he is necessarily more than those things. But at the same time, he is Janmadi Sujataha. He's the source of everything. So just because Kṛṣna is the source, or in this case Lord Vishnu, is the source of the modes of material nature, that doesn't mean that he's tied down or restricted by the modes of material nature. He's always in a very transcendental position. Nonetheless, Kṛṣna says, Matasmiti Jnanam Apohanam Cha, that all types of potency, all types of energy originally come from Kṛṣna. He's the source of them all. And therefore, if someone wants to be empowered in some particular work, here Vasuki is being empowered by the mode of ignorance, because as a snake, he's very much in the mode of ignorance. Or the demigods, they're more dominated by the mode of goodness, so they're empowered by that mode, and by the mode of passion, the demons. So according to one's effort, endeavor, Kṛṣna will give a different type of empowerment, and that empowerment can be for any types of living entity. So whoever functions in this world, ultimately they are blessed by Kṛṣna's potencies for whatever effort they may want. Here, the empowerment is direct. Generally, Kṛṣna just allows the material energy to be giving that type of empowerment according to what living entities desire. And this then becomes the formula by which we attain or acquire those things that we really want. We have our own karma, that is what we've deserved in the past, and then we have desires. Desire, in order to get what you want, your karma has to be in line with your desire. Well, many people want to become very wealthy, but they don't have the karma for it, so it doesn't happen. But some people do have the karma for it, and therefore it does happen. In this case, here, Kṛṣna gives special empowerment. He's giving special empowerment because the demons and demigods wanted to do something, but the end result was that there were already different times. First, they couldn't even lift a hill, Mandar, not a hill, it's a mountain. They couldn't lift Mandar, a mountain. The Lord had to assist them, so he had to interfere. In other words, they had a desire, we want to drink this nectar, but their karma wasn't even enough to get the ingredients together. So they couldn't even actually get the mountain in place. Even when the mountain got in place, then that still wasn't enough. So again, the Lord had to interfere by appearing as Kurma, because I don't know what they were thinking, that the mountain was going to float on milk. Mountains usually don't float on milk. So there was something going on in the minds of the demons and demigods, that there was going to be something very mystical about this Mandara mountain, that they're going to put it there and it's just going to sit on top of this ocean, or whether it's going to go down and then they're going, how maybe it sinks. I don't know how deep that ocean of milk is. But then again the Lord had to interfere. Now they become so tired. In other words, they don't actually have the karma to achieve the desire that they want. So why would Kṛṣna empower them? Well, partly because there's a significant pastime involved here. There's the pastime of the churning of the mountain. If you didn't involve, then that would be it. They would just all walk away and Vasuki would die. But still, there's a līlā. The līlā is that of the churning of the mountain. There's the appearance of Mohini Murti, the pastime comes later, Dhanvantari avatar, and the entire concept of Ayurveda is dependent on that. And then so many other different things like Airavata, who then becomes Indra's carrier, and Lakshmi Devi comes, who's then the consort of Lord Vishnu. So because his pastimes are connected to that, then he gives a type of extra empowerment. And this is described in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Kṛṣna Shakti Vinena Tavat Prabhatam. That unless someone is particularly empowered by Kṛṣna, then he can't actually participate in the Lord's pastimes or fulfill actually the Lord's mission. So that empowerment is taking place right here. The best type of empowerment is to be transcendentally empowered, to be empowered by the internal potency. And the next best thing is what the demigods are, is to be empowered by goodness. Then others are by other lower modes. So you can see here that even devotees, if they're participating in some certain activity, even in relationship to the Krishna consciousness movement, like for instance sometimes devotees become very impassioned to preach, or say to distribute books. They become impassioned to distribute books. That means that they really want some recognition. They want to be known as a good book distributor rather than actually wanting to solely please Kṛṣna. And because their result or the desire that they want is actually in line with Kṛṣna's mission, Kṛṣna may empower them. So Kṛṣna Shakti Vinena Hatavatana, but there's Parasya Shakti. It doesn't necessarily mean that you become empowered by transcendence, or you become being empowered by Kṛṣna, means you maybe become empowered by any of these things, because it plays a role in Kṛṣna's līlā, it plays a role in Kṛṣna's pastime, it plays a role in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement. Not necessarily good to be empowered by the mode of ignorance or by the mode of passion. But still, if the goal is, as is here, for the service of the Lord, it may still be something that happens or takes place. So what's the purpose? What's Vasuki's purpose? The demon's purpose is very clear. They want some result, they want to enjoy, they want to become immortal in order to be able to enjoy unlimited sense gratification. And the demigods, they're sort of mixed in their motivations. As here, the ones who appeared, Indra, especially Brahma and Lord Shiva, they're really good, or they're beyond those type of lower modes. They become empowered by the mode of goodness. Mode of goodness means someone becomes empowered to advance in spiritual life. He becomes inspired, rise early in the morning, chant nice rounds, studying why? Because this is how I'm going to advance in spiritual life, in Krishna consciousness. Sajyajitamam padyante tamstataiva bhajamyaham. Krishna will reciprocate with devotees. However, the higher the empowerment, in other words, the higher the mode of nature, the more difficult it is to acquire it. You can get empowered for getting some big result. You can become empowered to become a scholar, but to become empowered to become a transcendentalist, that becomes very rare. Prasada leshanu grihita evahi janati sattvam. So that becomes very rare. Then you really have to get Krishna's mercy. So therefore, reciprocation doesn't necessarily always mean something that's fully beneficial spiritually. Although, if Krishna favors devotees, then he will not reciprocate, or he'll reciprocate in such a way that even though one is blessed by the mode of passion and ignorance and goodness, ultimately it's done in such a way that it's not to a devotee's spiritual detriment. And then that's that verse that we always forget the beginning. But then Kṛṣna says that yes, when I particularly favor someone, or when someone worships Kṛṣna for material gain, material benefit, and that worship doesn't necessarily mean that I'm consciously doing some kind of puja, but the motivation which is there for some material benefit, then Kṛṣna will give that result, but it will not be the same result that he will give to demons. But actually the empowerment that he gives to devotees, that will be an empowerment that will ultimately frustrate them in material pursuits, to give up their type of material attachment. And so the pastime goes on. In the next verse it's described that then the Lord sat on the top, because when you churn something, there has to be a bottom, there has to be a top. So Vasuki is the churning rope, and Mandar Mountain is the churning rod. So at the bottom, it's fixed down by its own weight, but if it's very strong, you can tip over, so it has to be held on the top. So what's holding it on the top? Usually a churning rod, when you see pictures, it's tied on the bottom, it's tied on the top, and it's pulled in the middle. So here, Lord appears in a 1,000-armed form, and in that way he sits on the top. And just by being there, of course, he's fixing it. But the 1,000 arms is also symbolic in that he's holding down the top of the Mandara mountain. So there's Matsya and Rohini and this 1,000-armed form, and there's this Ajita who's also there, who's helping with the journey of 4 different incarnations of the Lord, and Dhanvantari is 5. So there are many forms in this pastime. And then it continues on. The demigods and demons worked almost madly for the nectar, encouraged by the Lord, who was above and below the mountain, and who had entered the demigods, the demons, Vasuki, and the mountain itself. So on top of that, although it's not mentioned there, but it says he's also entered into the mountain. Through that empowerment. Because of the strength of the demigods and the demons, the ocean of milk was so powerfully agitated that all the alligators in the water were very much perturbed. Nonetheless, the churning of the ocean continued in this way. So on top of that, there's also alligators in the ocean of milk, and there's other aquatics that live there. How they see is another thing. There's something about oceans of milk that I can't remember, but they're a different type of milk than different type of milk. Well, I can't remember what the difference is. Vasuki had thousands of eyes and mouths. From his mouths he breathed smoke and blazing fire, which affected the demons, headed by Paloma, Kaleya, Bali, Bilbao. Thus the demons, who appeared like Sarala trees, burned by a forest fire, gradually became powerless. Because the demigods were also affected by the blazing breath of Vasuki, their bodily lustres diminished, and their garments, gardens, weapons, and faces were blackened by smoke. However, by the grace of the Supreme Lord, clouds appeared on the sea, pouring torrents of rain, and breezes blew, carrying particles of water from the sea waves to give the demigods relief. When nectar did not come from the ocean of milk, despite so much endeavor by the best of the demigods and demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ajita, personally began to churn the ocean. The Lord appeared like a blackish cloud. He was dressed with yellow garments, his earrings shone on his ears like lightning, and his hair spread over his shoulders. He wore a garland of flowers, and his eyes were pinkish. With his strong arms, strong, glorious arms, which award fearlessness throughout the universe, he took hold of Vasuki and began to churn the ocean, using Mandara mountain as a churning rod. When engaged in this way, the Lord appeared like a beautifully situated mountain named Indranila. So he was churning alone. The fish, sharks, tortoises, and snakes were most agitated and perturbed. The entire ocean became turbulent, and even the large aquatic animals like whales, water elephants, crocodiles, and timingala fish, large whales that could swallow small whales, came to the surface. While the ocean was being churned in this way, it first produced a fiercely dangerous poison called hala hala. O king, when the uncontrolled poison was forcefully spreading up and down in all directions, all the demigods, along with the Lord himself, approached. Lord Shiva, Sadashiva, feeling unsheltered and very much afraid, they approached Lord Shiva, Sadashiva. Feeling very much unsheltered and afraid, they sought shelter of him. And here's the purport, and we'll stop. When we questioned that since the personality of Godhead was personally present, why did he accompany all the demigods and people in general to take shelter of Lord Sadashiva, instead of intervening himself? In this connection, Madhavacharya warns, Lord Vishnu was competent to rectify the situation, but in order to give credit to Lord Shiva, who later drank all the poison and kept it in his neck, Lord Vishnu did not take action. Sadashiva. Okay, anyway, we'll stop here because now comes pastime, and the verse that devotees all know. There's lots of glorification of Lord Shiva, and as Shukadeva Goswami talks about Lord Shiva. Which verse is that number? Okay, what's the verse? Sankirtan devotees learn it during the marathon. Yeah, Tapyante, yes, verse 44. Tapyante lokatapena sadhavo prayasojana paramaradhanam tathi purushaya kilatmanam. It is said that great personalities always accept voluntary suffering because of the suffering of people in general. This is considered the highest method of worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present in everyone's heart. Anyway, we'll read that. That's coming up later on, and very, very important. So why it says here, and that's what it does say, Upari adha, up and down. The poison is going up and down. I guess it's going up and down in the ocean. Or its fumes are going up as well, but down, it must be going down inside the water as well. Anyway, it's spreading everywhere and in all directions. Okay. And we're going to stop here and hand out diplomas to devotees who are here. And Hare Kṛṣna. Srila Prabhupada, akkor akarod olvasni majd a neveket, csak én? És akkor